Welcome to the Mindset Lady. I have an interesting topic and I hope you enjoy it. How can we understand someone is lying to us? There are verbal signs and non-verbal signs, and we are diving right into it. I'm getting most of this information from 60-Minute X-Ray. I highly recommend this book if you are interested in behavioral arts. So deception means three things together: discomfort, stress, and uncertainty. In order to understand deception, we need to understand stress as well, because their signs are almost the same. But in order to read deception, you need to look into things in clusters, in groups, because isolated signs or just isolated events, it will not prove that that person is lying. One or two signs by themselves are not going to show that the person's actually lying. Also, before we start, I want to mention the truth bias that we have. When we like someone, maybe we like their smile, maybe we like the fact that they are same race as we are, or maybe they are from the same city that we are, or even they look like someone that we love, we right away feel that bias towards them. We tend to like them more than the others. Our brain makes this decision, this bias towards them without our control. So this is why so many times we hear women or men being cheated for years and they don't notice it. And then when you ask them, like, you didn't see the red flags? The red flags were there, but they kept ignoring them. And the reason is the truth bias that we have. And if you have any kind of suspicion, let's look if your friends or your partners or maybe your coworkers are telling the truth. So the part one is the verbal deception indicators. Number one is hesitancy. There are two types of hesitancy. Number one is a long, unusual pause, and number two is reflecting the same question. For example, where were you last night at 8 p.m.? I was having drinks with friends. So do you see how unusual that pause was? What were you doing at 7 p.m. last night? What was I doing at 7 p.m. last night? See? If the person is reflecting the same question, basically they are buying time. They're thinking about what they should say next. Psychological distancing is the second one. A guilty person will try to stay away from the fact that he is guilty as much as possible, and also they are going to soften out the severity of the situation. So instead of stabbing, they say hurt. Instead of steal, they say that they take stuff from other people.
So you're not a murderer, you're not a killer?
No, I'm not. I've never harmed anyone in that way, so I would never harm anyone in that way.
I haven't harmed my wife or my daughter. I haven't harmed either of them.
In reality, the man dubbed the Mornington Monster killed his wife and young daughter with a spear gun.
Or instead of sex, they're gonna say sexual relations.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Also, another way of psychological distancing is keeping those people away. Instead of saying, for example, Monica, Bill Clinton said that woman. Okay, so that kind of a distancing. Or when you look at the interrogations of some criminals who killed their children, for example, they use sentences like, I took the children from school. I took the children, not my children.
Do you think she just took off? Do you think?
I mean, right now I don't even want to just like throw anything out there. Like, I hope that she's somewhere safe right now and with the kids.
So you are distancing yourself from there so that you don't feel that belonging, and that hurts less and also kind of makes you feel less guilty. Number three, rising pitch. It's hard to detect rising pitch in the voice sometimes because it can be very subtle, but whenever people lie, their voice changes because stress releases adrenaline hormone, which makes the muscles around your vocal cords tighter. And that's why you're gonna sound very high-pitched when you lie. Increased speed is another one. So let's say your friend is talking to you in a very normal speed, but suddenly he kind of skipped one part very quick, and you're like, why did you speed up there? They might be lying. The reason our brain is doing this because they don't like the stress of lying, so they want to be exposed to it as short as possible. That's why they're kind of speeding up. Also, if they speed up, then they will be less likely to get interrupted by the other person. Non-answers, meaning you ask a question to this person, but then they give a totally different answer in a way that you feel like they answered your question and then they expect you to move on and don't dig it further. Those people are deceptive. For example, politicians do this a lot. People ask like, so what are you thinking about women's rights? Like what are you planning to do about that in our country? And then they go like, we've been supportive of gay rights, LGBTQ rights in our country for this long, that long. Also, we did this and we did that, and we are hoping to move forward with similar projects, da 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 da. Nothing concrete, right? Like nothing that really exactly answers the question there. Pronoun absence is another thing. Especially in interrogations, you see that people who are guilty, they tend to skip the pronouns. For example, police asks like, okay, where were you yesterday? Tell us about your day. They start saying like, okay, had breakfast at 8 a.m., left home around 10, came to work, da 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 da. There are no pronouns. There's no I. You see, the reason is because you were not there. You were not the one who had that experience, because that experience is just made up. And your brain doesn't like to put the pronoun there where it doesn't belong to. Resume statements. So resume statements meaning if a person starts to talk positively about themselves a little bit too much, then you should be suspicious. For example, they're in the interrogation room. They ask them like, so I heard that you were divorcing your wife, so tell us about that. And then he goes like, I'm a perfect husband. I'm a perfect father to my kids. I took them to camping. Last year, I bought this car for my wife's birthday. I paid their insurance. I bought the house and we share it with my wife. They try to show you how good they are, how perfect they are. If they are doing this like this overly, then you might be suspicious about that behavior. Non-contractions. For example, instead of saying don't, if they say do not, instead of saying didn't, if they say did not, and if they are happening in a reoccurring theme, then maybe they are being deceptive, such as
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Question reversal. We get this a lot, especially in our relationships, romantic relationships. What were you up to yesterday? What were you up to yesterday? You are reversing the question, hoping that this person will get annoyed and will not dig further. Also, you are buying time so that you can make up something in the meantime. Ambiguity. Deceptive people love ambiguity. And they give you an answer that is not fully answering the question, right? We just talked about that. For example, what were you doing yesterday at 8 p.m.? And the answer is, well, I usually come in to check emails. But there is a problem here. Human brain doesn't like ambiguity. It likes to fill in the blanks. So what happens if you're an inexperienced cop or something? Our brain notices the ambiguity gap and it fills it, and then allows that deceptive person to escape completely. So you're saying that you were checking your emails? Oh yeah, I was checking my emails. See? Politeness. What do I mean? Sudden rise in respect. So the writer of this book worked for FBI for years, and he says that in the interrogation room where the suspect comes in and he starts talking like bro, or he says like dude and stuff like that, but as the conversation gets more serious and he's more kind of blamed of something, he starts talking like, no sir, there's no such thing sir, I can't do anything like that. So suddenly that politeness kicks in, then that's a problem. Over apologies, another deceptive behavior. Oh, sorry, my memory isn't perfect. Oh, I wish I could have helped you, but oh man, I can't remember anything these days. I'm sorry, I can't. I'm really sorry. These kind of over apologies, not good. Mini confessions. Especially criminals do that, but in romantic relationships where cheating happens, we also see that too. So you confess to a smaller crime so that the other person will forget about the bigger crime and let you go. This way, you appear honest and you also distract the other person. For example, my friends told me that you were having dinner with this chick last night at blah blah restaurant. He goes like, no, they're lying. I wasn't there. But I'll be honest with you, I've been chatting with this girl on Instagram for a month now, and I stopped talking to her recently because I thought like, what the hell am I doing? Like, but yeah, that happened. I'm sorry. See, suddenly the person started to think about that Instagram girl instead of like happened last night, you know? In that person's eye, the liar kind of got out of the situation. Exclusions is another thing that we need to look into. For example, talking like, as far as I am concerned, as far as I know, to the best of my knowledge, as far as I'm aware, as far as I have been made aware of, if memory serves.
All right, I believe that concludes this interview. At this
I've
point,
been as honest as I possibly can remember to you. I mean, truthfully honest.
Now, these kind of words are actually kind of weird coming from the person who went through the experience. And especially if it keeps happening, like during the speech or during the interrogation or during the dialogue, that's not a good sign either. By saying these things, they are technically doing some kind of psychological distancing. Chronology is another thing. If a person is telling you what they did in a chronological order, maybe in a job interview or maybe, you know, in an interrogation room, whatever, if they're giving too many details, like unrelated details in the chronological section, then you might feel like, there's something going on there. For example, your girlfriend asks you like, so what did you do yesterday with your friends in the evening? I was like, oh, you know, we were in a mall, we were going shopping, and suddenly we decided to get some facial, and we went into this store, and there was like this cashier who were very chatty. Because she liked us, she gave us like free facial for next time and blah, blah, blah. It's like, why are you giving so many unnecessary details here? That's a problem. If you are suspicious about someone lying to you and it's about a chronological order, ask them to tell you what happened in the reverse chronological order. If they're telling the truth, they will be able to do that. If they're lying, they're not going to be able to do that. This was the first part on how to detect deception. In the second part, we are going to talk about nonverbal signs. I hope you found this video helpful, guys. If you want to check out my other videos, they're right here. Bye.